joined here today by Mark Wald from Supercharger. Thank you, Mark. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I always think people do a better job of introducing themselves rather than me trying.
Well, thank you, Leo. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, Mark Wald. The business is called Supercharger. Fun fact, we like to spell it without the vowels on purpose. I'll tell you more about that later. We'll come back to it. I grew up in Silicon Valley. My father is an engineer. My mother is a type A busybody. I inherited the best and some of the worst, honestly, from both of them. But I kind of bring all that with me to my adult self and my professional self. So curiosity for how things work, problem solving mindset, get shit done, work ethic. And that's served me pretty well to this day. I'm married. Been married for 20 years, just celebrated that last month. And we have two teenage daughters, 16 and 14. That's a whole nother podcast we could talk about later maybe. But I love my family. Everything's great there.
That's great. Well, congratulations, and it gets easier in some ways with the kids.
It does. Yeah, it's a lot less hustle and a lot more brain damage and heartache, but all good. I believe, my wife and I both believe we're just, our job is to raise good humans, to contribute to society and to make the world a better place than it is today. So that's what we're after, and it doesn't have to be easy, but it's always rewarding.
I think you're 100% right. I often think that, my deepest purpose in life, if I can leave this world with two happy, healthy, well-adjusted kids, then I've done a good job. So I think you're right. It sounds like you have a very similar philosophy on that.
Agreed, yes.
And tell me on the business. So you started Supercharger now how long ago?
Well, 2008, I started moonlighting as a fractional CFO. Let's see, going back a little further, I studied economics at UCLA undergrad. I worked for a business bank, then some movie studios and a few startup businesses and small businesses in the mix. Started moonlighting as a part-time CFO and liked that a lot better than trying to climb the corporate ladder in large companies. So I took everything I learned from big business and started bringing those best practices and tools and insights to small business. And in 2013, I incorporated and started building a team around me. So it's been officially 10 and a half years, getting close to 11 years that I've been at the Supercharger business.
Great, and certainly I've watched it grow. So you've done a fantastic job.
Well, thank you.
Talk to me a little about the sort of health side. So for you, how does health look? What does that mean? What do you do? What do you like to do?
Well, I grew up being very active outdoors in Silicon Valley. I would ride my bike and skateboard and rollerblades all over town. I was an avid swimmer, had a pool in my backyard. I was very fortunate there. Got good at water polo. I was MVP of my high school team and went on to play club in university. But you can't just go down to the local rec center or park and join a pickup game of water polo like you can basketball. So I kind of left water polo behind when I came out of university. And honestly, I didn't do much like physical fitness since then. I still skateboard by the beach. You can see a skateboard over there. My 16-year-old is really into skateboarding. She stole my favorite skateboard from me and claimed it as hers. So we skateboard together sometimes. It's a longboard. It's like 5.5 feet tall. So I used to actually put both kids on the front of the skateboard and push them to school in the mornings when this elementary school was walking distance from our house. So that was fun. But I like just a variety of things. My wife and I said, married 20 years. We met probably 22, 23 years ago at a nightclub. And we like dancing. We like going to concerts, electronic music, rock. So we still do that a couple times a month. When the pandemic hit, I started doing Pilates over Zoom from my living room. And I'm a problem solver and a builder. So I put caster wheels on the bottom of my coffee table. I replaced the legs with like large industrial caster wheels so I can roll the coffee table out of the way and my living room turns into like a makeshift gym. And then I put like a video conference system on the living room TV. And so we have a really nice setup to do Pilates from home on a floor mat with a Cadillac machine twice a week. My wife and I do it together, and then the girls take turns doing a one-on-one session with their trainers, and my wife and older daughter are going to the gym now a couple times a week, sometimes together, sometimes apart. But honestly, I have let my health slip as I've been putting like 200% into growing my business over the last decade. So it's coming around. You might hear in my voice I'm a little congested right now. I picked up a cold that my daughter brought home from school last week, and my immune system isn't as high as I'd like it to be. So I need to spend a little more time working on my physical self while I am pursuing all my other goals.
And how often are you out skateboarding with your daughter?
Nowadays, a lot less often, a couple times a month, honestly. When I graduated from college, I sold my car to get extra cash so I could pay rent for a few more months while I was looking for my first job. The market was kind of soft in 2001 for accounting and finance professionals. Anyway, so I turned that into about a 2-year stint where I didn't have a car in Los Angeles. I was taking a bus to my first job in downtown LA, and then I moved to Hollywood, and I was taking a train from my apartment in Hollywood to downtown. But I carried my skateboard with me everywhere, and I got faster from the bus and train stations to my final destination. So I did a lot of like pump power, just traveling around by foot and by skateboard for a couple of years. Then had a car because I had to commute across LA professionally and schlep the kids around town. But I think it was 2017, I sold my car again, a few cars in between, obviously. And I use Lyft and Uber to get to all my meetings. So less often I bring a skateboard with me, but sometimes I do.
And are you still using Uber and Lyft mainly?
Yeah, absolutely. I price shop between the two of them. I prefer Lyft. I think that what I understand about their ethical practices align more with my values. But honestly, money talks. So if Uber is, 15, 20% less, depending on surge pricing and whatnot, I might choose Uber.
And for you, I think that gives you extra work time. So not only do you not have to drive, you don't have the cost of a car, but I remember you saying, it's also valuable time that you're working in the back of the car.
Yeah, that's right. I don't get car sick, fortunately, so I open up my laptop in the back seat and I'm banging out emails and proposals and sometimes even getting on video conference calls while I'm moving myself from one place to the other. It all started back, like I said, in 2017, I think. I was trying to squeeze more time out of every day, and so at every stoplight, I'd pull out my phone and bang out a few text messages or emails. Sometimes even I'd open up my laptop and try to work on a spreadsheet at a long traffic light, and that was a slippery slope. So there was one week that I was especially busy, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to fit it all in. I had to take myself about 2 hours down south to San Diego for a half-day meeting. So I ordered an Uber at that time, and I got hooked. I was working from the back seat both ways. So when my DMV renewal registration came in the mail, like 2 or 3 months later, I was like, why am I going to pay to renew the registration? The car's just been sitting in the garage this whole time. So I drove it to the car wash, got it detailed, and the guy who asks you if you want tire dressing and air freshener in the car, he told me, hey, that's a nice car. Would you consider selling it? I was like, well, funny story. So I sold it that afternoon for cash, and I haven't looked back since.
Love that. And what do you like to do for fun?
Definitely music and dancing. My wife and I like hosting, so we throw social gatherings with our friends and family. I live by the beach, walking distance to the Pacific Ocean, so I'm very fortunate there. We'll go down and either just relax on the sand, or I'm a strong swimmer, so I like body surfing. Not so much surfing on a surfboard, but and bodyboarding I got over once I was a teenager. So body surfing I really like. I'm 6'3" and 220 or so pounds. So it takes a lot to move my body from one place to another. And so it's a novel sensation for me to have a wave pick me up and move me around. I really enjoy that. I like snowboarding, and I got my kids into snow sports as well. I taught my wife how to snowboard when we were still dating before we were married, and she was getting good at it, and then she took a wrong turn, fell, and she broke and dislocated her elbow at the same time, and she has not been back out on the snow since. But I like snowboarding.
And are your kids snowboarders or skiers?
The 16-year-old picked up snowboarding last season, but they both started skiing, and the 14-year-old prefers skis. So we're a mixed crowd there.
It's interesting how it's, I mean, like I grew up skiing and snowboarding didn't exist. But it's interesting how both of my kids never picked up snowboarding. They went straight, they picked up skiing. I think it's gone through sort of that mix of snowboarding was the cool thing. And then now you really do see a mix. It's sort of skiing was dying off, but then sort of seemed to come back again as,
It's true. And I think it depends on the community that you immerse yourself in. Nature versus nurture has a big role there. I grew up in Silicon Valley, so I was driving to Lake Tahoe a lot. Sometimes I'd cut class with my best friend and we'd go up to the mountains for a day trip. And the first couple times up, I was skiing, but I was always frustrated that, we ski hard, go as fast as we could. And when I'd fall, my pole would be over there and my ski would be here and the other ski would be in the back of my head. And I'm like, I don't want all that. I just want something simple that's easy and I don't have to brush the snow off the bottom of my boots to get back in the bindings. So snowboarding really appealed to me just for like cutting out the nonsense, the distractions. And then if I fell, half the time I'd land right back up on my feet and I can keep going before I even came to a stop. So I've never looked back. I like snowboarding better.
it's interesting. I only ever tried snowboarding once. Too old to take it up now.
It's painful to learn, but once you get there, yeah, for me it's more pleasurable. Also cooking. So I like cooking, entertaining for guests in our house, and both of my daughters now have picked that up and they cook for our family more often than I do, which is a really nice relief.
That's great. Nice they can chip in and have fun doing it. And what are you good at, or can you, more to the point, actually stop working? How good are you at switching off and saying, you know what, I'm going to focus on family, focus on whatever it is, but actually switch off?
Uh, Terrible. Also very unpredictable in that too. I deceive myself. When someone's expecting me to be able to unplug from work, most of the time my wife and or my kids, I'll convince myself that I can do it, and I'll more often than not fail miserably. Where I still have work on my mind, I'm spinning it. It's triggering my amygdala and my adrenaline, and so I don't respond in the way that I'm most proud of to things that are annoying or stressful in those situations when I should be at my best. I'm a perfectionist, so I obsess over any problem that I'm chewing on until I feel satisfied with the solution and I can execute it and get it off my mind. So if I have unfinished work that I feel like there's a deadline at my back, it doesn't matter if I shut down my computer and even leave my devices at home, my mind is still churning on that problem until I come to resolution.
That is the entrepreneur's curse. It's hard to switch off. I remember having someone work for me also a long time ago, like 25 years ago, and she was excellent at her job, doing a relatively junior job, but excellent. And I said, would you like to be promoted? Like, there's a lot of opportunities in the business. And I'll never forget her response to me. She was, I don't know, yeah, early 20s. And she said to me, no, she said, I like going home and switching off. She said, I like the fact that I have a 9 to 5 job. There's no responsibility.
I remember when I was working as a W 2 employee of other businesses, Sundays I was very depressed because I just was anticipating the week ahead. And Fridays were delightful because I had a whole weekend ahead of me that I could clear my mind for work obligations. Not the same as a business owner. Like, work chases me all through every hour of the day and night. But I also have a lot of pride and autonomy in what I'm doing. So there's a balance that I'm happy with.
Yeah, I think there's nothing easy about the entrepreneurial journey, but there's nothing more satisfying either.
That's right. I'm a rule breaker. I like pushing the boundaries, challenging convention, and that can become a problem in a large corporate environment when you're not calling the shots. So I was often very frustrated and unsatisfied there, but as an entrepreneur, I can set my own rules and, I have a strong team that likes following my lead and we win together. So that's really fun.
What has been a pivotal moment in your life? And that could be personal or business. It could be two separate things. It could be one. It could be, but what has been a pivotal moment in your life?
One story that I like to refer to goes back to when I was a teenager. I like building things with my hands. In fact, it's hard to see here, but you can see those turntables up on the wall. I built those. I do a lot of woodworking. So anyway, my neighbor across the street had a whole garage wood shop, and we built a treehouse in front of our house growing up. And every day my dad would come home from work, and he'd wiggle the structure, and if he didn't feel like it was safe enough to hold our weight, he'd tear it all down. We'd have to start over every day. So throughout the whole summer, we were basically stress testing our build skills. And by the end of the summer, he thought it was sturdy enough. He left it up all 3 stories of the treehouse. So that taught me the value of building something that's resilient, robust, and safe, and also that it's okay to fail and to try again until you succeed. So that was really pivotal, I think. A few other experiences along the way, but fast forward to when I was in undergrad, I paid my way through college making balloon animals. Again, like twisting things with my hands. And I think it's like the engineering mindset. If I can see in my mind's eye the shape that I want to make, I can usually twist it together. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries to get it to look not weird, but oftentimes I get it right the first time through. And it's really fun for me to imagine something, and then with, 25 cents worth of latex and some hot air, I can, will it into reality. So that's rewarding and impress people along the way. Put a lot of spending cash in my pocket. So that entrepreneurial experience was very foundational in giving me the confidence in myself and my ability to, make a living with, my ingenuity and my hustle. Right now I work in accounting and finance. So the same problem solving and creative building skills and mindset, I think, work really well for me with regard to accounting, finance, spreadsheets, systems that connect data and business processes together. If I can see the Rube Goldberg machine for how all the dots connect and what happens when and what the outcome can be, I can, design it and manage it and achieve success that way. So that was another really good building block for my professional self.
That's great. Now the question is, can you still do the balloon animals?
I can, yeah. I'm like a Renaissance man. I sewed my wife's wedding dress from scratch. She wanted a wedding dress that was made with corduroy and lace. And I don't know if you've been wedding dress shopping ever, but there weren't any corduroy and lace wedding dresses available on the market 20 years ago. So I told her, no worries, I'll make it. I learned how to sew a little bit from watching my mother sew ballet costumes for my sisters growing up. And I just figured it out, trial and error. It took a lot of hours, but we got there. And I can make clothing out of balloon animals too. I've gotten paid to do that and done some for fun. And yeah, I stopped doing balloon twisting for hire because my time is worth more than what I'd get to do that. But for fun, I still do.
How does a balanced life look for you, or how would you like a balanced life to look for you? And that doesn't mean that, I'm a big believer that a balanced life is not in a perfect balance every day. It fluctuates. But overall, how does that look for you, or how do you want that to look for you?
I get bored easily, so I need constant stimulation. When my family, we like to travel, but we prefer to go to busy metropolitan areas as opposed to going out in the countryside where there's peace and quiet and tranquility, because that is great for us for an afternoon, but not for multiple days on end. We go crazy. So I like to be immersed in a variety of stimulating and engaging activities. But I think a balanced life would be if I can give my full attention and mindfulness to the activity that I'm involved in without having competing things tugging for my attention in the back of my mind from work or from other things that are stressing me out. So I think it's a lower level of stress because probably would naturally happen when I've achieved my financial goals for the family, where the money can do more of the hard work to provide for the family than my time and brain power. So I'm working towards that.
The question as an entrepreneur is, do you ever actually achieve that, or does that goal just keep increasing?
Yeah, I've definitely, looking back, seen that play out, because the first home that we bought, my wife and I, when we first got married, was fantastic and our dream home, but then our ambitions and expectations grew from there, and it's still happening. But my kids are teenagers now, so within the next 5, 6 years, they're going to be out of the house and our household budget will decrease. So I think that balancing act will allow a better equilibrium between our household expenditures and our income. So it'll give me more freedom to choose what I do with my time, besides chaining myself to this desk right here and making the big bucks.
I love the optimism, and I'd say you might want to add 4 years to that. Having two kids at college. College is in America obscenely expensive.
True. We've been saving a little for it. Both of my sisters got scholarships. I didn't. I chose a different path, but I'm not counting, I'm not banking on my daughters getting scholarships. But anyway, I think that my ambitions are geared at college tuition being a rounding error. Let's just put it that way. So I definitely have I have quite a steep hill to climb to get there, but that's where I have my sights set.
The good news is, I don't know about good news because you'll then miss the kids, but the good news financially is, if, assuming they're not planning multiple degrees, once they leave home, that 4 years countdown kicks in the financials.
True. I mean, I really see that we'll be spending the same that we are now, just on different things. So more travel, more like memorable life experiences that are enriching for ourselves, my wife and I, and the people closest to us, friends and family. So I don't see us spending less, just reallocating our budget.
Fair enough. It's travel is fun. Now we're empty nesters. I'm actually beginning to kick off a journey next year. I'll be more of a digital nomad, traveling a lot.
I've thought about that a lot. I just, like, if I'm away from home for more than 3 weeks at a time, I get a little homesick. I've traveled to plenty of places, not nearly as many as I'd like to experience, but LA always feels like home to me. It's got the right balance of weather and infrastructure, convenience, security, all the things, arts and culture. So I don't think I could, like, when I was younger, I thought maybe I'd be a management consultant and live out of a suitcase, but I don't think I'd be happy with that lifestyle. I need to have a home base that I keep checking into. I'd like to start a mobile wood shop as a nonprofit as part of a retirement project. So I have this vision of getting an 18-wheeler with a big open floor plan, putting a lot of woodworking equipment in there, and driving it to different middle schools and high schools that don't have their own budget to have those facilities, getting some volunteers, some retirees who like woodworking as much as I do, to spend their time teaching the kids proper insurance and all that stuff. And if that model works, then I can turn it into another business that doesn't generate profit for me, but like cash flows its own growth, so that we can repeat that in different cities around the country. So that would be a fun passion project I'd get into to balance out my time when I'm not working 80 hours a week.
That's cool. I think there's nothing better we can do than help the next generation. So
Right.
I love that. Well, thank you. It's been fun chatting. And how can people find you?
Oh, well, obviously LinkedIn is easy. I have my own website as well, my online CV. It used to be the site I marketed myself for balloon twisting, and now it's been repurposed to be my online CV. It's mwald.com, MWALD.com. And down at the very bottom of that site, there's a link to see some photos of the balloons that I used to make. They're kind of laughable at this point, but it's part of my story, part of my persona. So I show it there. I'm very transparent.
It's fun. I've seen it. It's yeah, and we'll include that in the show notes.
Thank you. Also, my business, supercharger.com. I said we spell it without the vowels on purpose, SPRCHRGR.com. I like to say cut out the vowels, get there faster, because that's what we're in business to do, help our clients achieve their ambitions faster, better, cheaper.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Enjoyed our chat and look forward to chatting more.
Thank you, Leo. It was fun.